What's going on, you guys? My name's Brobson, and today's video is going to show you my official Maxscape from Scratch rule set. These are the rules that I'll be following anytime I'm logged in-game on one of my Maxscape from Scratch accounts, and consequently the rules that will be followed in every single upload on this channel. Before I get into the actual rules though, I'd just like to announce that these are my personal rules for Maxscape from Scratch, but they do not need to be followed strictly by every single player in the Maxscape from Scratch community. If you start an MCFS account with the hopes and the goal of following the exact same rules that I do, then these are the rules that you'll want to follow strictly. However, several players in the Maxscape from Scratch community and clan have created their own personal rule sets that are very different from mine, and that's completely acceptable. The whole point of Maxscape from Scratch is to strengthen the community, play with each other, and make sure that RuneScape is as fun a game as possible for everyone involved. So if you would have more fun changing or completely ignoring some of the rules gone over in this video, then do it. The only rules that will be required to be followed in order to join the Maxscape from Scratch clan and community are rules 1 and 2, because those are the rules that actually define what the from scratch style of gameplay is. Aside from that, it's completely up to you. However you want to play and however you'll have most fun, do it. But these are the rules that make the game most fun for me and the rules that I'll be following in all uploads on this channel. Rule number 1 is that you must start a brand new account for the Maxscape from Scratch series. When this account is created, it must have all level 1 stats with the exception of 10 Constitution and 0 XP in all stats. Existing accounts cannot be turned into Maxscape from Scratch accounts. You'll need to start a brand new account to make sure that you're on level playing field with all of the other Maxscape from Scratchers, and you'll need to work your way up completely from scratch, starting with absolutely no items and absolutely no stats or experience. Rule number 2 is that there's absolutely no use of the Grand Exchange or trade and assist with other players. Likewise, coin share is not allowed as it is considered a function of the Grand Exchange and it would give players coins that they otherwise would not have been able to obtain from scratch. Rule number 3 is that specialty shops can be used to purchase items. However, some specific items will be restricted in Rule 4. This rule makes it useful to buy bulk items for skilling, such as empty vials from herblore shops or feathers from fishing shops. Rule number 4 is that all wieldable skill tools and gear, such as weapons, armor, pickaxes, hatchets, etc., must be gathered or self-obtained by you. You cannot buy these items. So the general rule of thumb when asking whether or not you can buy something is, if you can wear it, you can't buy it. If you can't wear it, you can buy it. The reason I put this rule in place is because reasonable amounts of GP are easily obtainable from the Squeal of Fortune for free, so it'd be very easy to be able to buy armor, weapons, and tools for levels 1 to 50, which would kind of ruin the early game content. In my opinion, it's more fun to train your other stats up and get yourself to a point where you can kill bosses or go ahead and craft and smith your own weapons, armor, and gear. It's more fun to drop hunt or to train your other stats to be able to create your stuff than it is to just buy it from stores. The only wieldable items that are exceptions to this rule are the items that can only be obtained through purchase, such as the Dragon Halberd or the Initiate gear set. Rule number 5 is that team activities such as bossing, minigames, conquest or pest control, wilderness warbands, etc. can only be done with other Maxscape from Scratch players. The only time that you'll be able to go to these events with non-Maxscape from Scratch players is if you have equivalent or better stats and gear than all other members in the team. This is to prevent players from leeching or camping at minigames to go ahead and get themselves advantageous items over other players. Minigame worlds may not be used for things like stealing creation, pest control, fish flingers, etc. Provided you don't leech floors, dungeoneering is allowed with any players in the Maxscape from Scratch community or outside the Maxscape from Scratch community, keeping in mind that you are not allowed to leech or use other players to get yourself faster XP than you'd normally be able to gain. And finally, Social Slayer is allowed with all players since you won't gain any extra XP or benefits from training with higher Slayer levels or higher combat levels. Rule number 6 is that Citadel training and use of the clan avatar is allowed, but only in the Maxscape from Scratch community clan. This way, all of the Maxscape from Scratch members can join together in the Maxscape from Scratch community clan and work together to upgrade the Citadel to as high a tier as they'd like, and the avatar buffs will likewise be available to all clan members who are actively capping and taking part in the clan events each week. Rule number 7 is that PvP is allowed, keeping in mind that you must make all of your own gear, food, potions, etc. Boxing in the dueling arena is not allowed, and illegitimate player killing is also not allowed, meaning that you can't simply camp the wilderness and kill defenseless players who aren't actually wanting to fight you in a PvP style fight. Rule number 8 is that wilderness looting and bot killing are not allowed. Bots shouldn't be too much of a problem anymore with RuneScape 3, but there are still a few green dragon bots out in the wilderness, and it's kind of an unfair use of the game mechanics to take advantage of those bots to get yourself extra resources, so I've just made it against the rules to loot from other people's fights in the wilderness and to kill bots. Rule number 9 is that no quest guides may be accessed on the account. You need to simply figure it out from previous game knowledge or from trial and error. In my experiences, I've noticed that trying to complete quests without guides makes the quest way more fun, as you actually have to immerse yourself in the content, pay attention to the lore and the chat dialogue, and it just makes the whole experience much more fun. So I'll be attempting to complete every single quest in the game without the use of a quest guide. And finally, the 10th rule deals with new content being released into the game, and it reads, in the event of a new content release, such as a new boss, minigame, skill, distraction, diversion, etc., all players, MCFS or regular, will be allowed to attend the day or week of release livestream events, regardless of their stats or gear. Any items or XP obtained during these streams or events will count and be usable by MCFS players. This is the only time that MCFS and non-MCFS players will be able to interact regardless of their stats, and only during my live streams and events is this rule applicable. This rule was put in place because obviously in a previous rule it was stated that you can only boss or do minigame events with non-MCFS players if you have higher or equivalent stats and gear, but in the event that new content is released into the game, I'm obviously going to want to do a day or week of release live stream event, and all of my subscribers are going to want to interact. So being a community-oriented channel, I figured it would only be fair to go ahead and let everybody interact and let all of the items and XP that are gained during those events count for all MCFS players. So during my week of release livestream events for future new content, I will be allowing myself to boss or do whatever with all players and all members of the community, and I will be able to keep any items that I do manage to luck out and obtain in a loot share fashion during those events. So those are the 10 rules that are included in my official Maxscape from Scratch rule set. Again, these are the rules that I'll be following anytime that I'm online on one of my Maxscape from Scratch accounts, and consequently any uploads you see on this channel, the progress will have been made while following those rules. Remember not to flame someone if they break one of these rules or are playing by a slightly different rule set on their Maxscape from Scratch accounts, because again, this is just my personal rule set that I will be following, and I encourage everybody to make their own personalized Maxscape from Scratch rule set, because I want the game to be as fun as possible for everyone, and everyone can tweak the rules or tweak whatever they want to do to make their account as fun as possible for them. If you have any questions about the rules or any comments or concerns, just feel free to leave them in a comment below or a personal message on YouTube, and I will respond as promptly and effectively as I possibly can. Finally, on screen now, there's a lot of information about how you can create your own Maxscape from Scratch account, get invited to the clan, become a part of the Maxscape from Scratch community, and start submitting your clips for a chance to get uploaded on this channel today. So pause the video and read the screen now if you have any interest in doing so. There's also a lot of other useful information in the description of this video, so feel free to check that out as well. And aside from that, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for tuning in and checking out what the rules for this series are, and I hope to get a lot more progress videos out within the next few days. See you then.